This brings us to the end of the description of the 360 heads of the zone girdling the earth. Every magician will agree that their real existence is no doubt only known to a few, i.e., to the high initiates of this earth. The size of this volume makes it impossible for me to give full details on each individual head. I can only publish a few words referring to the general facts of Hermetic science. If everything were mentioned that falls under the competence of each individual head, i.e., the work and duties in the zone girdling the earth with respect to the Akasha principle, the elements, the cause and effect of legality, the laws of analogy, polarity, electromagnetic fluid, etc., more than a whole book with hundreds of pages would have to be written on just one single head. The description of many a head whose range of competence is very great would fill not just one volume, but a good number of volumes. However, this brief information on the intelligences will be sufficient to provide the mature magician with the necessary guides, for this is the true purpose of the descriptions. If the magician wants to get into contact with a certain intelligence, he will find a great number of possibilities to do so. It will surely have attracted attention to the magician that many heads have similar, or even the same ranges of competence. This assumption becomes even more apparent due to the fact that I have dealt with the responsibilities of the heads from the Hermetic point of view, as already mentioned. The magician will certainly find this agreeable, for it gives him more possibilities to choose from. Later he might realize that though there is a certain similarity in the ranges of competence, the methods, instructions and operating principles of each head are completely different. This means that the magician can have his wishes turned into reality in various ways and by completely different means, and that he is not just dependent on one method or instruction given by just one head. This is also the reason why it is impossible to publish here all the instructions that could be given the magician for the realization of his wishes, irrespective of the fact that many heads insist on their methods remaining secret. Thus through the zone girdling the earth is something quite new, so far quite unknown to the magician. It is of very great importance. Up to now there has been no writer of astrology or quabella who would have been able to say anything about the existence of the zone girdling the earth. The astrologer who is at the same time a trained magician will be able to enlarge his knowledge by studying the information given in this volume on the existence of the zone girdling the earth. When finding out about certain influences, he will not only be able to employ his knowledge of the zodiac and the planets, which are an astrological commonplace, for his calculations, but he will also be able to take into account the influence of the zone girdling the earth on the fates of men. From the astrological point of view, the zone girdling the earth can be regarded as the ecliptic of our earth divided into 360 degrees. Going by our measure of time, each head's influence on each place of our earth lasts 4 minutes, the first head's influence starting at sunrise and returning next sunrise. If, for instance, the astrologer knows the exact minute of a man's birth, it is easy for him to work out which head sympathy that man can rely. The talents becoming effective in a man can also be assessed by him when taking into account the influence of the zone girdling the earth. If, in consequence, the astrologer also takes into consideration the stellar constellations when working out the horoscope, he will obtain striking results. And if he does not only look at the horoscope from the mantic point of view, but also adds to it all favorable planetary constellations which can be assessed for a certain degree of the ecliptic, he will be able to throw a deep glance into synthetic astrology and enlarge his knowledge in a manner which otherwise, by the mere application of the usual astrological facts, would never be possible. Such an astrologer will, for instance, work out the influence of the cosmic elements of the spheres on our physical world in quite a different way and regard it from quite a different point of view than he would have done before. Doing this, he will get much nearer to the actual truth than it was the case up to now. A thick volume could be written on synthetic astrology and its relations to the whole Hermetic science, including the facts of the zone girdling the earth, which I intend to do at a later date, providing the impulse comes from divine providence. The astrologically trained the magician may therefore find it expedient to work out the exact period of influence of the intelligence or head of the zone girdling the earth whom he wants to evoke for the first time, starting to count from sunrise. This will facilitate his work. The well-trained magician will, of course, not regard it necessary to stick to the assessed time to carry out his evocations. Along with the positive heads of the zone girdling the earth, the opposed intelligences also, which are the representatives of the negative principle in their range of power, become effective. I have deliberately omitted to give any description of the negative heads, their names or seals, in order to hold back the magician from any disadvantageous experiments. A magician will want to get into contact only with those heads that coincide with his own ideals. For if he wished to explore the whole zone girdling the earth with all its heads and other beings, one incarnation would not be enough, even if he were to live 100 years. Already when looking at it from the theoretical point of view, the magician will be convinced that the heads are able to reveal to him the highest kind of wisdom, provide him with the most comprehensive knowledge, put at his disposal the highest powers, open the gates and pave the way to the greatest magical faculties. Then there is nothing on earth that the magician is not able to achieve, for he has all the keys to wisdom, power and authority. He is then capable of fulfilling any wish.